Good evening and welcome to the virtual public information meeting and the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act scoping meeting for state project number 15-382. That's the widening of Interstate 95 northbound exit to Route 8 northbound. That's exit ramp 27A over Warren Street and South Frontage Street in Bridgeport. I hope that everybody in attendance finds the presentation informative and that we'll be able to answer any questions you may have and address any concerns. My name is Ryan Martin. I'm a project manager with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Before I begin the presentation and introduce the project team, I would like to go over a few housekeeping issues and explain tonight's format. Our presentation will consist of two parts and last approximately 20 minutes. The first portion will describe the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act and its impacts to this project. The second portion will be the presentation of design by the department's consultant engineer for this project, WSP. Once it's completed, we will host a live question and answer session. Available for those viewing this presentation via Microsoft Teams is the option to view the captions or subtitles. To turn on this feature, select the CC button at the bottom right corner of your screen. This turns on the captioning. Then choose the language by selecting the settings wheel next to the CC button. Select captions, subtitles, and select the desired language. Available languages are English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Mandarin Chinese. You will have three means of communication with us for the live question and answer session. You can send us an email, you can leave a voicemail, or if you're joining us on Microsoft Teams, you can leave a question in the chat window at the right side of the presentation. The project email, voicemail, and chat box will be screened by the project team during the question and answer session. Answers to all questions will be posted in the chat window of the presentation. We will read all questions and answers out loud. You may ask questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll answer them afterwards during the question and answer session. The primary means for you to communicate with the project team will be by email at dotproject001-0382@ct.gov, and I'll spell that out for you. dotproject 0015-0382 @ct.gov. You can use your phone to leave a voicemail at 860-944-1111. Again, that number is 860-944-1111. Or you can use the chat box in the MS Teams application. The comment period to ask questions by email or phone will be open through November 10th, 2020. So if you think of a question after tonight's meeting, or you can send it by email or voicemail until November 10th. In Microsoft Teams, you can ask a question by clicking on the little question mark, which is to show Q&A. This will bring up your live Q&A field. Select the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen, and you can then type your question and press Enter, or press the arrow button to send it to the project team. You can also check the button to send your question anonymously if you prefer. There will be a slight delay, but your question will eventually appear in the featured section with the other questions. The Microsoft Teams chat function is only available during the live question and answer session tonight. There's also a project webpage where tonight's presentation, including the question and answer session, will be stored. The webpage will also include information I explained about how to leave questions for the project team. That website is https://portal.ct.gov/dot Bridgeport 15-382, and I'll spell that out for you as well. https:// POR.TAL/CT.GOV/DOT/15-382. I'd now like to introduce the project team. With the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the project team consists of Bart Sweeney, the Division Chief of Bridges, Robbie Bearcat, the Principal Engineer, Kevin Fleming, Transportation Planner, and myself, Ryan Martin, the Project Manager. Additionally, Clough Harbor and Associates is working on this project as the department's consultant liaison engineers. From Clough Harbor and Associates, the project team consists of Don Wurst, Section Manager, and Rob Baylor, Project Engineer. We would greatly appreciate if you can complete the public survey, which has been established for this project on SurveyMonkey. Virtual public information meetings are relatively new for the department, and the results of the survey will assist us in using this format in the future. There's also a civil rights flyer available. Links to both the public survey and the civil rights flyer are available at the website mentioned earlier. Lastly, I'm required to read the following sentence as part of Title VI Civil Rights. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. We will now begin the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act scoping portion of the presentation, which will be given by Kevin Fleming.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Kevin Fleming, and I'm a transportation planner here at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Now, as we previously noted, we're here tonight for a public information/SEPA scoping meeting. So what exactly is SEPA and what is SEPA scoping? Well, the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA, provides a process for state agencies to follow in order to identify and review any action that may significantly affect the environment. Essentially, its core purpose is to provide a public process for state agencies to identify and assess the extent to which a proposed action may significantly affect the environment and to evaluate alternatives to avoid or minimize such impacts. Now, a key component of SEPA, and I can't stress this enough, is the public's opportunity to review the proposed project and provide feedback. So your feedback is greatly appreciated and also a very important part of the process. While conducting a SEPA review, we must consider any direct, indirect, and cumulative impacts that a project may have on the physical, natural, and socioeconomic resources of the state. And as you see here, there's a wide range of resources that we must consider, everything from noise impacts, air quality impacts, impacts to threatened and endangered species, impacts to historic and archaeological resources, to things such as public health and safety, and then also compliance with the State Plan of Conservation and Development. So now that you have an idea of what SEPA is and what we must consider under the SEPA process, what exactly is SEPA scoping? Well, SEPA has a very specific definition of scoping, and the process involves specific steps for public outreach. SEPA scoping, as you can see on the screen here, is defined as the gathering and analysis of information that a state agency will use to establish the breadth of environmental review of a proposed project. The SEPA scoping process begins when we publish the project in the Environmental Monitor. The Environmental Monitor is an online publication run by the Connecticut Council on Environmental Quality, or CEQ, and then that'll kick off a minimum 30-day public comment period. The idea here is to solicit comments from various regulatory agencies, municipalities, and the public to identify potential alternatives and also specific aspects of the environment that need to be analyzed. As we all know, often the local community has unique knowledge of a project area, including any potential community concerns or information on various resources located in the area. So here's kind of a high-level chart of the SEPA process. It shows where we currently are, the box is outlined in red, and what the next steps are under SEPA. Once we originally determined that this project was subject to a SEPA review, a notice of the project and this meeting was published in the Environmental Monitor back on October 6th, 2020, which officially kicked off the SEPA scoping phase and public comment period. Now, that period concludes on November 10th, 2020. Just an FYI, we're required to undergo a SEPA review for this particular project because it involves adding additional vehicular lane capacity to a bridge, which will be discussed later. Now, once the scoping period ends, the Department of Transportation will review comments received, consider any environmental impacts, and determine if any impacts are potentially significant. Based on this, we will determine if an environmental impact evaluation, or EIE, is required or not. An EIE is a detailed document that analyzes any significant environmental impacts and also compares the impacts of any potential alternatives. An EIE is only required for projects that appear to involve significant environmental impacts. Once a determination is made to undergo an EIE or not, that determination will be published in the Environmental Monitor along with any comments received during scoping, as well as our responses to those comments. Now, I'll hand the presentation over to WSP for a detailed discussion of the project itself.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening. My name is Tom Liberty. I'm the project manager for the project for WSP. A little later on in the presentation, you'll be hearing from Ben Szymanski with the structure details and Joe Tyros with the highway details.
Project located in Bridgeport. Again, the goal of the project is to relieve congestion of I-95 northbound to Route 8 northbound. So here we're going to show a little shading. That's kind of showing project limits. And then in the lighter orange shading is the existing bridges, Bridge 107 over Warren Street and Bridge 3532 over Warren Street and over South Frontage Road. And then the widened or rebuilt portion of the project is shown in the darker orange within the graphic.
Again, here is the project limit shown in gray on an engineering drawing of I-95 northbound to Route 8 northbound. And now the shading in yellow shows how that lane is added from the south to the north, Route 8 northbound, with that widened portion of the ramp structure. So why is this location being modified? This area experiences high volumes of traffic throughout the day, and frequently this area experiences congestion. Queue lengths for the exit 27A off-ramp often extend beyond the exit 27 local off-ramp. This is mostly due to the 79,000 vehicles a day traveling I-95 northbound and the 24,500 vehicles a day taking the Route 8 northbound off-ramp. Due to the current geometry and high volume of traffic at this location, there's also a high occurrence of vehicle crashes, which are mostly rear end and side swipes. So how will the proposed design help? The additional lane will improve capacity and sight distance for those taking the Route 8 northbound off-ramp, and as a result, it'll reduce congestion and potential crashes in this area. And now I'll turn it over to Ben for the structure details for the project.
Thanks, Tom. Looking at the current conditions at exit 27A, here shown in blue we have Bridge 107, which carries I-95 north and southbound. We have Bridge 3532 shown in purple, which carries exit 27A, which is I-95 northbound to Route 8 northbound. And then shown in yellow is the widened proposed section that will be built out to accommodate the extra lane that's being added to exit 27A. Now taking a closer look at the existing structures. Shown here on the left is I-95 northbound up top, right before you get off exit 27A to Route 8 northbound. Shown in the center is Bridge 3532, which will be widened as part of this project, and that carries exit 27A. And then shown on the right is I-95, which is Bridge 107. Shown in the bottom right is a view of both structures, Bridge 107 to the right and Bridge 3532 to the left. Here we have an elevation view of the exit 27A off-ramp. This is the existing structure. It should be noted that from the view down on South Frontage Road, the structure will basically look the same as it does today. Looking at the project from above, shown here in light orange are the existing structures as they are today. The proposed condition shown here with the dark orange highlighted is the widened portion, which includes the new proposed extension to the pier, the proposed extension to the existing abutment, as well as the new deck, which will help accommodate the additional 12-foot lane in the off-ramp. Now looking at a section cut through those two structures, I'll show you a before and after. Here's the existing section as it is today, I-95 northbound shown to the left, and the exit 27A off-ramp to the right. Now the proposed condition, you can see here the two structures are joined in order to widen the off-ramp. Everything shown in the light gray is the proposed girders, and this is to accommodate the new 12-foot lane. Looking at the proposed foundation modifications, the center pier that supports the off-ramp will also be modified. Existing is shown here to the right. The proposed section will be added on to the end of that, shown here in the darker gray color, and the aesthetics will be the same as what the existing structure currently is. So it will look basically seamless. So for bridge 3532, which is exit 27A, we'll be making modifications to the existing abutment where the bridge touches back down. So we'll be demolishing part of the existing abutment and wing wall, as you can see here in the red hatch. And then we'll be rebuilding a widened section of abutment and a new wing wall in order to accept the new girders and the widened structure. With that, I'll turn it back over to Joe.
Thanks, Ben. Continuing with that thought, how are we going to construct the widening? The slide you see now shows the MPT scheme for I-95 northbound and the exit 27A off-ramp. We are only anticipating a one-stage MPT scheme needed for the widening. To give the contract a little more room to work, we are proposing a 12-foot lane shift into the left shoulder for the through-moving traffic on I-95. This will give the contractor the additional width needed to demolish Bridge 107, remove the steel girders, and replace them with new framing and bridge decking. Likewise, the off-ramp lane will need to be shifted slightly to the right shoulder to give the contractor enough room to demolish a portion of Bridge 3532 and construct the remainder of the widening to allow for the two lanes along the entire exit ramp. In the next slide, I'll go into further detail on the NPT scheme for the off-ramp. We do anticipate short-term 10-minute lane closures to the local streets and a detour of South Frontage Road, but those will be coordinated with the City of Bridgeport to minimize the local impacts. I will touch on detours a little later in the presentation. Now to get into a little more detail on the MPT staging for the exit 27A off-ramp. On this slide, we are showing the existing off-ramp as you see it today. In stage 1 and throughout construction, we will always keep one travel lane open with a 7-foot wide right shoulder. This larger shoulder width is to help provide adequate sight distance as motorists navigate the off-ramp, but will also provide the width needed for larger vehicles and tractor trailers. Due to the ramp geometry and the tight radius of the ramp, we are proposing a slight reduction in speed for the off-ramp during construction. Finally, in the image at the bottom, it is a representation of what the ramp will look like once the widening has been completed. 2 travel lanes will be provided, as well as a varying right shoulder width. Again, this is to provide the adequate sight distance needed as you drive around the ramp. Moving on to temporary road impacts. We do anticipate impacts to the local streets, especially on South Frontage Road and Warren Street. Short-term, 10-minute lane closures during off-peak times may be needed for steel lifting operations. There could also be 1-lane closures on either South Frontage Road, Warren Street, or both while the contractor is constructing the pier and modifying the abutment and wing wall for the bridge and the off-ramp. Several considerations are made when looking at possible detours. Due to low clearance restrictions on Railroad Avenue, we are proposing a road closure on South Frontage Road between Warren Street and Lafayette Street. Because of the numerous one-way streets in the area, this detour was chosen to eliminate the need for traffic signal adjustments while also allowing access for the Bridgeport Brewery. In the next slide, I will show a graphic and go into more detail for the detours. The graphic here shows 2 detours, one for vehicles in red and one for pedestrians in yellow. These detours are expected during demolition or lifting operations for the steel superstructure. Starting the detour in red, due to the high volume of vehicles using South Frontage Road, we propose redirecting all traffic heading eastbound on South Frontage Road left onto Warren Street, where they make a right onto Prospect Street and another right onto Lafayette Street, and the detour ends at the intersection of South Frontage Road and Lafayette. It's a short detour, only about 0.4 of a mile, but we do realize this could impact those other streets and additional measures may be required. Besides roadway capacity and length, this route was chosen because it has adequate clearance for trucks. One detour alternative was to use Railroad Ave. However, due to low clearance issues, 2 detour routes would have been needed, one for cars and one for trucks, which would have been less desirable. In yellow is the pedestrian sidewalk detours to be implemented as needed. This path was chosen because it has less roadway crossings and would be safer than detouring pedestrians to the north where they would have to cross South Ave. As previously mentioned, detours are not expected to be long-term, more in the magnitude of a few weeks. Depending on schedules, the contractor will have the ability to modify the detours or closures. Regardless, before any detour is implemented, variable message boards will be posted in numerous locations to give the public a heads up on any changes in traffic operations. Obviously, with a project set in an urban environment, finding proper laydown and staging areas can be tricky. Here on this slide, we are showing some nearby areas the contractor could use for staging. In red are state-owned areas that could be used, and in yellow is state-owned parking lot that is leased by the Bridgeport Brewery. If that parking lot was to be used, the contractor would need to coordinate with the state and with the brewery. Other areas not highlighted on the map that could be used for staging, but would need to be coordinated with the owners, would be the arena parking lots and the property underneath I-95 that can be accessed by Aranistan Avenue to the west. As with any project, coordination is key. From this slide, you can see all the moving parts that need to be on the same page to ensure success. Coordination with utility companies is incredibly important for any project. Many project delays stem from the unknowns found in the field dealing with utilities. Luckily for this project, most of the utilities are located within the local roads and are not anticipated to be affected by this project. Moving on to one of the most important groups, you the public. Our team at WSP will be working closely with CHA and the department and the contractor to keep residents updated and informed. The project website will be a great resource for residents to get updated on the project. We will also work with EMS, police, and fire departments to make sure they are aware of the work and to incorporate any feedback they might have to keep the public safe in the event of emergency. Especially during these uncertain times, local businesses are a careful consideration as well. Though there are many businesses directly adjacent to the project, besides the brewery, our team will work with the Harbor Yard, the arena, and Harbor Station for managing traffic during special events or times expecting high traffic demands. Our goal is for a quick and positive project, and coordination with all stakeholders will be crucial for us to make that possible.
Touching on the project schedule, looking at today's date and moving forward, the design will begin at the beginning of next year and run through July. At the same time, there'll be utility coordination going on as well as permit acquisition, and that'll run through the end of next year. The beginning of 2022 will be the beginning of the construction bid phase, and with award being in January of that year. Also, starting in March of 2022 will be the construction planning process, which will run through the fall. Starting then will be the active construction, and that will run through the following year into the summer of 2023, with closeout being at the end of 2023. Also included as part of the project will be upgrades to the existing sign structures along I-95 northbound leading up to exit 27A. Shown along the top here is the existing signage as it is today, and then shown on the bottom is the proposed signage that will be replacing that, and that'll be updated to reflect the new exit lane at exit 27A, as well as updating signage to current standards. This concludes our design portion of the presentation, and we'll now move into the question and answer portion of our presentation.
Hey, thank you, Kevin, Tom, Ben, and Joe, and all the folks at WSP working hard to make this project a success. At this point, like Ben said, we'd like to open this question and answer portion of the public informational meeting. This is a great time for you, the users of the exit, the residents, and other stakeholders to reach out with your questions and concerns about the project. We want this to be a very successful project, both in construction and afterwards, and your input can help. Big reason why for these public informational meetings is to solicit questions and information from users and residents nearby who may have unique information about the site. So looks like we already have a couple questions here. I'll read them out loud and give an answer, or ask somebody on the WSP team for an answer. One is concerning the lane design. Having the new lane appear on the left will reduce usage, as drivers will assume that the lane is connected to the I-95 lanes. Having it start on the right will increase use and speed by which traffic can use both lanes at intended volume. Behaviorally now, with the existing setup, the left lane when it appears gets less use, except by locals. So the lane configuration has gone through kind of a thorough analysis by the Department of Transportation, and this version was seen to be the best due to, like Joe had mentioned, some sightline issues and alleviating the congestion. The overhead signs will on I-95 in advance of the exit are going to be modified to let motorists know about the changes. So that should address the safety concerns there. And as far as below the bridge, the local roads are only going to be modified during construction. So not changed for afterwards. I think there was a mention in the question too about speed, right? Yeah, so in regards to speed on the ramp, the posted speed there is 25 miles per hour, and that's due to the sharp curve and the limited sight distance. Okay, thank you for your question. Okay, another question here is why not have the third lane on I-95 go both straight and exit? Actually, so the intent of the project is just that, is to have that third lane go both straight and exit. So the end result will be two lanes exiting. That third lane on 95 will be a straight or exit lane. All right, we have a few more questions coming in here. Let's see. What will the temporary lane closures on Warren Street and South Frontage Road look like? Joe, do you want to take this question?
Thanks, Ryan. This is Joe Tyros from WSP. Temporary lane closures on Warren Street and South Frontage Road will look typical to what you would see for utility work on the street. For Warren Street, you might see one lane or two lanes closed while the contractor works with the other two lanes open. Thank you, Ben, for bringing up this slide. For South Frontage Road, as you know, there are two lanes between Warren Street and Lafayette Street. So if there is a lane closure during working hours, there may be road work in the right lane or the left lane. There's a good chance the contractor will separate that out with drums or barriers, depending on the situation. And you know, they'll switch those lane closures as necessary. So I hope that answers your question. And back to you, Ryan.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe. We have another question. What are going to be the work hours during construction, and is night work anticipated? Tom, I think the question goes to you.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. Tom Liberty with WSP again here. The normal working, like we actually anticipated, really depends upon what construction activities are going on. So by and large, we think the project mostly will be daytime work, but due to the limited access and availability through the site, we do anticipate that there'll be some nighttime closures and nighttime work for steel erection, maybe even pouring concrete to have the concrete be accessed there, and then also for delivering of materials to the site. So it really depends, and a lot of that will be coordinated with the contractor during construction, and also we'll let the public know.
Great, thanks, Tom. Let's see, we have another question. Will there be another public informational meeting? So as I mentioned before, this this public information meeting is really the chance for the residents and users to express their concerns. Of course, we'll be available in the future. But this is kind of the point in the design between the preliminary design and the final design. So kind of after this point in time, we'd like to have as much finalized of the basis of the design as possible, so as not to prevent any future rework in the project. So there won't be another public informational meeting. So while we wait for some more questions, I did want to remind everybody listening about the survey link that I mentioned earlier in the presentation at surveymonkey.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link to the survey just below the video. The virtual public information meetings, they're a new process for us at the DOT. So we're looking to collect some information about how many people are attending compared to the live presentations we were holding in the pre-COVID world, and also looking for any strengths or areas for improvement in these virtual public information meetings going forward. So your comments can help us out there. There's also some demographic questions in there. I'll read that link one more time. That's https://www.surveymonkey.com/LDD5QK6. And we have another question come in. What is your plan for emergency medical services during these temporary road closures? Joe, would you like to take that question?
Thanks, Ryan. Again, this is Joe from WSP. Obviously, emergency medical services, or EMS, is really important during times of construction, making sure everyone's safe and sound. That's particularly why this detour that we proposed is a short detour, only from Warren to Lafayette Street. We will be coordinating with the plans as we go through design and see if police, fire, or EMS have any concerns or suggestions to increase the safety, look at other routes if need be. But we will definitely keep them informed for the road closures, when they're going to happen, and if there's anything that they suggest that we can make those areas safer and more accessible for EMS, we're going to do that to incorporate into the plans.
Great, thanks, Joe. So while we're waiting for some more questions to come in, I'd like to remind everyone the ways that you can submit questions. One way, if you're watching this through MS Teams, is to through the chat function. The best way probably is through email, and you can get in touch with us at dotproject001-0382@ct.gov. You can also reach us by phone. You can leave a message at 860-944-1111. Another question has come in. So traffic tends to back up at exit 27 as well. Will any measures be taken to address the issues there? So this project was undertaken as a spot improvement for just for the exit ramp onto Route 8 northbound from 95 northbound. So it's not intended to expand to other exits or other parts of I-95 or Route 8. If there are specific concerns for those areas, we can certainly pass those on to people in our planning section and see if they have any data, crash data and vehicular data, where a project would make sense there. So please, if you have any information on those, we would certainly take those and move them on for further evaluation. Another question came in. It says, is the road closure going to take place during the school season? And if so, how will the school buses and public bus stops be affected? Joe, I'll pass that question on to you.
Hi everyone, this is Joe Tyros again from WSP. That's a good question. We have taken that into consideration. Typically for school buses, this could occur during a school season. Unfortunately now schools are a little hectic, but ideally the bus routes will be the same. They're going to follow the detour if it does cross paths, as well as local bus stops. We'll have to relocate those bus stops temporarily. We'll coordinate with either the school districts, or we'll coordinate with the local bus, and work out temporary stop locations, and obviously incorporate all the necessary signage for the public to know where those bus stops are. And other than that, the vehicular movements will follow the detour as well as all other traffic. So I hope that answers that question, and back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks a lot, Joe. While we're waiting for any additional questions in, just remember, if you do submit a question in the chat, it may take a little time for it to appear. So have patience. It will eventually show up there. If you do think of something after this presentation is over, remember you have till November 10th to reach out by email or on phone. We'll be monitoring that daily. So definitely reach out. Maybe an idea will come to you tomorrow, maybe the next day. But just do your best to get that out by November 10th, and certainly give a response to you. And another reminder, the project website for this is https://portal.ct.gov/DOT Bridgeport 15-382. We did get another question. It says, when is construction anticipated to start? Ben, I'll pass that on to you.
Thanks, Ryan. So going back to our project schedule slide, we have our construction window. We're assuming it's going to start in the fall of 2022. The contractor will likely get some early construction activities done through that fall. We anticipate he'll have a winter shutdown and then pick up again in the spring, and then complete construction towards the end of the summer in 2023. These are our estimation as of right now.
All right, thanks, Ben. We'll give some more time for questions to come in. If you do think of a question later and want to send it in an email, that email was dotproject001-0382@ct.gov. If you're watching this on YouTube, there should be you should see it beneath the video. Just copy and paste that into your email. And just looking now to see if any further questions are coming in. And a question came in, says, can you explain again why the shoulders are so large? Joe, would you like to take that?
Thanks, Ryan. Yes, this is Joe Tyros from WSP. The right shoulders are larger on the off-ramp. That is because of the sharp radius of the curve. With that sharper radius, we like to have an appropriate sight distance. As you can see from the slide here, in the proposed, we do show a varying shoulder width from 7 to 19 feet for that right shoulder. And again, that is to provide that additional sight distance that you need for a driver getting off the exit ramp to see an incident that might be happening in front of them and have enough time to come to a safe stop before obviously being a part of that incident. But that's why we have the wider shoulders on that side. The left shoulders, they're a little bit wider. That's just the way the geometry worked out with the transitions between I-95 and the off-ramp. I think part of the reason why the I-95 shoulders are a little larger was when those roadways were constructed, they pushed traffic to the outside while they constructed the middle of the highway. So that's probably why those shoulders are a little wider on 95. But thank you, and back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Joe. These are all great questions, and we definitely appreciate everybody reaching out. Like I mentioned before, the more input we get from the residents and users of the project site, the better results we'll get, both during construction and after with the final result. I haven't seen any new questions come in a few minutes now. I'll leave it open for another couple minutes. This question and answer session can go as long as it needs to. But if there's no more questions coming in, we can certainly we'll certainly end it pretty soon. Like I mentioned, the email and voicemail will be available through November 10th. So if any questions come to you later, we'll be checking that daily, and we'll definitely get back to you. Okay, well, looks like we're not getting any new questions in. So with that, I think we should probably end this meeting. Would like to remind you one more time that that survey on surveymonkey.com has important information for us as a department to collect in order to make these virtual public information meetings more user-friendly and as positive as possible for all the listeners and for us. So with that, I want to thank WSP for all your hard work and design thus far as we move on to the final design for the project, and also to CHA for all your contributions. And with that, everybody have a good night.